Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees?
Why?
Because they're really good at it.
No.
Sorry. I apologize, y'all.
That's how we're gonna start off for the Girl That Girls. We're just gonna do puns. We're just gonna start off with puns.
Like, it's gonna do.
I was like, Robin doesn't know. I was like, I've been following Robin for years, like since before transition, all the stuff. Oh yeah, I've known you from.
Oh, you know too much. You know way too much there.
Oh damn right. Oh damn right. And I might have some questions for you too as a result.
Oh yeah.
I was like, we gotta see if you got some of that dark trauma, that humor in you. Okay. All right. Here we go.
I love it.
Here we go. All right. All right. So, I like my dad like I like my coffee. I don't. A lot of people say black, and that's my dad. Like, that's my daddy, not my dad. But thank you.
This is gonna be the best cold open ever.
Yeah. Or like, I used to call my ass parental love because both were virtually non-existent. These are some new material. Yeah, like 60K on this shit. I was like, let's go.
Oh yeah, I love it. Oh, sorry. Woo. Y'all, I'm
hearing my cat in the background.
spitzing over here. Everybody, welcome back to Girl Dad Girls. I'm your host, that QT Danny B. With me, we have an amazing guest host, Zexion1337. Sadly, Mika has decided to move on from the podcast, so she's dead to us now. No, she's got family stuff, so she can't be here anymore. And Bree has just gone under the knife to get her face carved up like a turkey, but we're all wishing her well, and when this comes out, she was probably going to kill me for that, but let's go. So with us tonight, we have a very special guest all the way from the UK. We have Robin, JuicyGirlTv. Woo!
Hello. Hi.
Woo! Awesome. So, Robin, tell us about yourself.
Oh gosh, it's not a lot to tell. You know, I'm a simple girl. Okay. It's 1 a.m. I'm very tired. Been dragged all the way into this podcast. I'm supposed to go on a date tomorrow. You know, you should feel very sorry for me. Very sorry for me. I'm a TikToker and an Instagram creator. I started off using cosplay as a means of disguising my egginess, as the kids say, and later came out as trans, and now people know me as that bitch, basically, you know, who
I mean,
who caused up a stir.
That's how long have you been transitioning?
So I came out publicly around September time, I'd say, around September last year. So I started HRT. I did a lot of things privately. I unofficially came out around May last year, so we're coming up to a year when I kind of like soft launched, you know.
Yeah.
And then all the mail, all the letters and stuff that you did, that was incredible.
Oh gosh, the video. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, I made like a little. I did a bit of a song and dance about coming out. You know, by nature of social media, I kind of wanted the memo to get out to people, and to do that, you know, I figured just making a video saying, "Hey everyone, you know, I go by she her now. You know, hey, I'm trans." Like, I figured like I needed to do something that would make sure that even like that my followers would actually see it. So I made like a little like a skit, a scripted thing, and that's awesome. I kind of like threw everyone for a loop on it, and sort of surprise everyone.
No, I'm just fired in on that one. Goddamn.
It's a bit scary.
Like, oh no, yeah, I didn't want to just say it on a video.
The whole comment section was like, was this the part where we act surprised about this?
Right?
So
And the grass is green.
so the reaction was good.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was even good on Twitter. That was
Really?
my achievement. I
Wow.
remember I just wrote a little thing on Twitter, and I think it got almost like, I think it got 750,000 views. They got like 150,000 views, and it was positive. It was overwhelmingly positive. Like 99% of it was all positive on Twitter.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like, good. Next, like, just go to the YouTube comments, and when those are positive, you done something good.
Like,
Yeah,
hey, Rowling didn't see it. That must have been.
yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Like, honestly, I would have thought you'd been doing this a lot longer because you look and sound amazing. So
Oh, thank you.
I'm coming up on 2 years now. So it's
Pardon?
I can't remember if you said on your TikToks and stuff if you were doing like your own voice training. Or I think you had
Yeah, I haven't like gone through any sort of like lessons or official training. I've been workshopping on my own over the past like year. I didn't think I'd really come along that far until I started listening to some clips from like a year ago, or even today. I got sent a link from like some work stuff, and they were like, "Hey, we want to use this like video of yours." I was like, "Oh, cool! Which one?" Click the link, and all of a sudden, this booming, bellowing voice comes out. And I was like, "Oh!" I was like, "Who is that?"
something weird. Have you noticed that as a result of learning how to train your voice to go higher, that you can drop it immediately? Like even better than what you had before, and just raise it back up like it's nothing. Like it's on TikTok.
At the moment, I've not got the knack of jumping between them quite so well. I do whip out the deep voice just to freak out the girls sometimes. I'll just answer the phone. I'm like, "Hey, yo, what's up, fam?" You know.
Yes.
I mean,
all right. If you can do this, I did this before on like just a med call where I started out very high and then gradually over time I just lowered my voice to where at the beginning of the call she was like she, her, and by the end didn't realize it, said just
no way.
It was amazing, and like she had no idea like that by the end of it she was saying he, him, and that's good voice training too.
That's
gaslighting people.
It's amazing. You're like, oh, okay.
I mean, I've been doing a little bit like trying to. I mean, I'm almost like over exaggerating so I can pull it back, but I'm going like really high and really light, just like so I can kind of be up here, and then I'm like, if I can start it here and then kind of like just pull it back a little bit and talk a little bit like. But every time I do it, people are like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "Okay, I made too many friends. Fuck."
Well, like I don't want to sound like a Barbie, you know. I'm like this. Like this is where I sound.
Yeah,
So, I don't know, for your voice, do you like where you're at? Or are you wanting to kind of go, like, I don't know, where are you at with it? How are you feeling? Does it feel like you?
For me,
both y'all. Yeah.
Oh, Robin, I guess, wait, was that to me? Oh.
For me? I mean, well, I'm in a position at the moment where, like, I recently had sort of made, I don't know, I was using a lot of, like video game lobbies, almost as like a little sandbox area. So like Lethal Company was a big game that was kind of going around recently, and hopping into random worlds. You know, like there's no harsher critic than a 10-year-old. So you know. You join into a lobby and all of a sudden get roasted by a 12-year-old and called a slur. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to workshop that one a little bit.
That's so smart. I love that.
And VR chat has been something that I've been in the metaverse. I've been in VR. I've basically discovered that it's a secret sanctuary for trans people. They're all hiding in there. They're all hiding in the metaverse, didn't you know? In a world where you can change your avatar, you know, to be just how you like it. You know, who'd have thought? there'd be such a high population of trans
I need to start
people in
busting
there.
out my Quest. I bought a Meta Quest because I'm an idiot.
Oh,
and
get on VR chat. Get on there.
Yeah.
You're gonna find everyone on there.
And then I can start like trying to workshop. God.
Yeah, there's literal like there are people in there doing like voice training like lessons, and there are communities in there, and they meet up like every week and do like socials and things, and like do little coffee like dates and stuff.
That's awesome.
And here I am paying this like person. I have a voice coach that I meet with once a week. Well, I used to meet with once a week, and it was like $100 for 45 minutes. And like the last one was like we were working on resonance, and I was like, so I can go really high and I can like try, but I can lower really down, far down, but I can't get my resonance up unless I tap like a little kid. And she's like, I don't know where to take you from here. And I was like, so I guess we're done. She's like, no, we'll meet next week. And I'm like, I'm not giving you $100 more if you like, I don't know where to go from here. So
like to raise your voice like that. It's like, come on.
That's for me. The biggest thing that I've changed from was the emphasis from pitch and more so onto resonance, I guess. Yeah. And singing helps a lot with that. Just doing a bit of karaoke, because you get to really play around with where you're projecting from and trying different ranges and stuff. Yeah. Doing songs that you can't sing also really helps, because then you just get to push different limits on things and play around with like where it's coming from. Yeah. So like I started focusing a little less on the pitch, and I was like, yeah, like it's fine. I was like, if I make it too high, then it would sound inauthentic to me.
It sound like mine did.
And push on almost like I'm playing a
That's when I unlocked baritone from Hollywood Undead. It was wonderful. Like that's how I just nailed it. Super loud.
Zex, what was your like? Because you sound like you both have great voices. Zex, do you have like? What did you focus on?
I did Dungeons and Dragons. Holy shit! And so I can do a whole bunch of voices. Be like, now, hey, but I done told you he's gonna eat us our house and home. We just ain't got enough business for that. Like just a whole bunch of shit like that. And so, as a result of being a dungeon master, within D&D and outside of it, it's been a lot of fun. Where you get to put on personas, you get to role play, and so I had to put on different voices, and this is where I settled.
Oh, wow, look at that. We got 20 side die.
Look at this. Girl, this says, and this is true of you, you are a natural 20.
Oh, you both are.
My D&D characters get really unhinged.
Go on, what's your favorite? Yeah, racing class. Let's go.
Yeah.
See, like we'd like to do a lot of one shots, me and the girls. And recently we did one where everyone had to play a woodland creature, like a woodland like sort of creature and stuff. You know, we keep it quite casual for these ones. So I was like like an old head queer, like sex positive granny owl.
I need the voice right now.
Back in my days, you should have seen me in my prime. Oh. But before that, then it was like a little gnome called Gub Gub, and he was like, what do you want from me then?
The 100-acre wood put up a fence around it for you to stay out.
Zex, what's your character?
Mine is a Tabaxi Bard. It is Velvet Tails. Two Tails speaks. The gift of gab. She'd rather. I made it to where she can't roll less than 20, basically on any like persuasion or deception roll. So I mean, I've gotten out of a boss fight by a charming, like just charm person, and then being like, so this captive right here, we need to take him. He needs medical help. We'll bring him right back tomorrow. Like just fucking, and then just absolutely cheese an entire encounter. And I have not done a single point of damage, all the way up to level 5. I play her as a support character. I want to see other people succeed and thrive, and as a result, I'm just in the background doing like Bane and like just different buffs and things on like my allies and detriment on opponents more so. That way they can shine.
Like a
I
sexy
wanted to
killer.
be a main character by being the ultimate side character.
All right. 10 out of 10. We'll call again.
Just the absolute Rizzler, the Riz God.
What's weird is I made her asexual. As a bard, I was like, no, fuck that trope. I was like, I'm not, but Velvet can. I was like, damn right. All right, I got a couple questions for Robin. So, I've noticed when you first came out and stuff, you kind of took a step back from like cosplays and more like outlandish, or like right now. I love your makeup, right?
Thank you.
Took a step back and you were like, hey, I want to do more mature looks, and then you kind of come back to it. And I've seen this evolution of at first you were learning to incredible looks that I see now posted that are just mind-boggling. And then you took a step back to like being like more to like the professional, more mature, and then back kind of cosplay where you found like you're like, hey, I can be however I want to be, but I want your take on that, on like your evolution of like who you are for your makeup journey.
Yeah, you've summed it up entirely, like my journey thus far since coming out. I've been exploring a lot of things in terms of how I present myself. And when I first came out, there was this pressure that I felt to make myself as palatable as possible, to fit, in order for everyone to sort of take me seriously. I'm for family, IRL, everything. I needed to kind of like learn the rules before I wanted to break them in my kind of way. It's kind of like art, I guess, like learn the rules of painting before you get experimental with it, maybe, for a genre bend. But yeah, no, I think I went through a bit of a natural progression of like, okay, well, I want to start with the basics of like I started working on my wardrobe a little bit and changing how I was doing my makeup, because I'd only understood feminine presentation through cosplay and through performance. And for me, in that moment in time, I didn't want to confuse those kind of two things like at the same time. They're like kind of different things. And I'd never really explored genuine expression as opposed to doing it for performance, because that was my little scapegoat. That was my way of that was my Trojan horse. I'm going to do cosplay. Don't worry, Mom. It's just a trend. It's just a trend.
I make girl characters from video games because I want to look at their ass, Mom. God.
What does that mean? That's crazy, Mom. That's crazy. And yeah, so I needed, I wanted to work on a lot of things. I had a few rules for myself when I began to transition. Rule number 1 was no filters on my phone, like no filters.
Nice.
Because I didn't want to, like, the whole point for the transition for me was to alleviate dysphoria. And, to do that is to get more comfortable, as well as like making changes, but getting comfortable with how I look and getting rid of those like those layers of like expectations. And I found that like
that's huge.
Using a filter on like a phone is only going to just give you such an unrealistic expectation of what you should look like, and it'll just be a jump scare every time you see your face in the mirror. So I made a rule to not use any filters on my photos, so I can learn to appreciate my face, because other people will be like, oh yeah, you look great, but I couldn't see it. It was something I just could not accept. So I was like, well, if I just get used to seeing my face a bit more, hopefully that would work, and it definitely did. And even more so recently, I've actually started posting pictures of myself at less flattering angles, pictures I actually don't like, on my socials, because again, I don't want to shelter myself too heavily on how I look from other angles, otherwise I'm just it's those like layers of
you gotta be a real person.
I gotta just have a realistic expectation of what I look like and being comfortable with that. But when it came to like doing my makeup and things, I was like, well, I kind of want to learn a little bit more of like an everyday makeup look and figure that out, and how I was going to style myself. What does that mean? And I'm still experimenting and playing around. It's still very early days. And yeah, I'm at the moment now. I've started reintroducing a little bit of edge, a little bit of all my alt clothing, like my alternative fashion. It's starting to make a comeback now. I'm getting a little bit.
Hot. All right. Yeah, no, I mean, like I think that's kind of one of the things that I've noticed about Instagram is it's both a benefit and also a curse, because like you can go on there and like get like lots of euphoria from like posting these pictures, and but yeah, like I've stopped using filters on most of my pictures. Anything that goes on Tinder definitely gets a filter. But they're not gonna want to date me anyway, so who cares?
Hey,
but
here for that. No, don't put yourself down.
no, I know. I say it mostly in jest, but yeah, like, but I have friends that I follow who every picture you can see they've been doing this for 3 years, and every picture has filters on it, and it's like, really, other than followers, what are you getting out of that? Like, you're setting these unrealistic expectations for yourself and other people.
I mean, you can like see my journey, Danny. You probably have, like, where I had the wigs and everything else, and I had 4 hours of like makeup. It was crazy. Like now I'm like, it's like 20-30 minutes, and I've settled in. Especially with HRT. It's ridiculous, but I still do use a filter, a light filter, because I hate my fucking bro. I was like, there's one thing where I'm like, if I get close enough, I was like, I might see it.
Industry standard, just a bit of industry standard touch-ups is all. That's all it is.
Because when people meet me in public and they're like, "Oh, you're Scarlett," I'm like, yeah. They're like, "Oh, I didn't know you have freckles." I was like, they're like, "I fucking love them." I'm like, they're like, "You're taller than what I expected." I'm like, "Yeah, because my angles are like from up here."
Well, and
see,
like,
everyone goes to me, they think I'm shorter because I like a lower angle. I like the power angle, a little power stance moment.
Like, I love that. I can't remember. It's like your main pick. I think it's you're in yellow. I think it's a. I can't remember. I mean, I was just looking at you because you're hot, so I was like, I can't remember the aesthetic, but I was like, yeah. But that whole ensemble was just, yeah. But yeah, I guess that kind of does look powerful, but also, I mean, you just look great. So. This is where Mika would usually play the Danny's hitting on the guest music.
Yeah.
So. All right. Rip in peace. Sex music. But yeah. So what would you say, like, has been the biggest surprise for you since coming out? Like, is there anything that's either good or bad, like, shocked you about this whole transition?
I've been asked this a bit recently, actually, and I would genuinely say that the biggest surprise to me, I don't know if it'd be the correct word or like term for it, but someone said the term psychosemantic changes to me recently. She was like, "Oh, you experience." She goes, "Oh, that sounds like the term psychosemantic." To experience like the difference in your psychology, mental health, and like the way like your brain. Like, I'm genuinely so surprised at the kind of speed and like how quickly, like my mind, my mental health has improved and has adapted so quickly. I didn't think that my brain would adapt so comfortably. Who'd have thought transitioning would be so good for my mental health? But like, you have expectations going in, uninformed expectations. When I went into it, I figured, well, it's going to take me a really long time to feel comfortable with what I'm doing. There's going to be this huge layer of imposter syndrome going into things.
Yeah.
And there is that at the start, but very quickly, as things kind of went on, and I've been very lucky to have a very good support network, and my environment around me affirms me just as much as I affirm myself.
That's awesome.
Like going out and getting gendered correctly. It's quite nice when you have a nice environment. And like where the people around you are respectful and they treat you accordingly, how good that is for your mental health and just, living life as normal. What a shocker. But honestly, I've started reaching a point where I am almost jump scaring myself because I'm genuinely starting to forget that I was born with a different body. I'm genuinely getting to the point where I'm like, what? Oh yeah, like I'm not cis. I'm not.
Oh.
I'm not a cis woman. Like, oh yeah, of course. Like, silly me. That's been the biggest shock.
That's honestly, that's still one of those things that I'm struggling with, because like I walk around and even though like people are like, oh, like you look like a girl, in my head I'm still, for some, I think it's probably once I can get rid of my voice and feminize, I still feel imposter syndrome. So I feel like it goes away for different people at different times, but I'm almost 2 years in. And I still am like, whenever somebody calls me she, her, I'm just like, ha, got you, nerd.
What the hell?
It's like
I'm 3 years in, and I'm sitting here like, when I take off my makeup, it's still hard for me to look in the mirror at myself. And when it's like this, I'm like, damn, I could walk into a place, turn heads, no problem. Mm-hmm. And I love that confidence where I didn't have that before. And when I first started out, I thought people were turning their heads because they were clocking me. Same. And then eventually it got to the point where I was like, wait, with unfortunately unwelcome advances, as well as some that aren't welcome, I realized that I was like, oh, they think I'm hot. I'm like, holy shit. It was just a weird like realization where I'm just like, wait a second. Mm-hmm. That brings up a segue question I have for Robin, which is, okay, is the UK, I was like, based on what you just said for your description, I love that. It sounds great that you have that support. But online, it's like, it's been made out for the UK to be like turf island. So
yeah.
So I was like, your experience is there. I'm glad they're different, but it's like.
Yeah, well, I live, so I mean, I went to university and I live in a city, a nice big gay city. With a lot of progressives, those progressive thinkers. Everyone's just used to seeing it's just normal. Especially when living in the cities, it's no wonder why queer people of all avenues flock to cities from small towns, because it's just such a normal place to be, where people are used to seeing every walk of life, and it's not a big deal because it shouldn't be.
Exactly.
And the friends in my life, I've been very lucky because when I came out, I was 27 when I came out, so I'd already kind of gone through a process of kind of curating like your friends that essentially are going to be the ones that you'll carry like into the rest of your life, I guess. Like you filter through meeting lots of people, and all the people that I told, they all basically said like it took you long enough, and and I didn't lose a single friend. There was no issue with any of them, I mean, let's think. Here in the UK, there is a lot of politics involved, a lot of culture wars. I'm sure the same is going on in America too, on a much larger scale. And yeah, it's been tough. I'm trying to educate myself on the politics at the moment. I'm working on, like, over the next few years, like just kind of getting into a good educated space for the politics, so I can actually do some form of activism and political stuff. Because the position I'm in, I do feel an inherent responsibility to do something with it. We've come so far, but there's still so much to be done, and I don't think I could sleep at night being like, oh, that's cool, like I'm in a really privileged position where I get paid to take pictures of myself, and cool, I've got my HRT, that's all dandy by me. Then I'll just not get involved and help anyone else, like, even though like everyone else is literally like drowning underwater. Like trying to
rain now.
get some hormones. It's something I don't want to rush into too quick. I want to make sure that I'm in the right position to advocate and not just like jump the gun and be like, hey guys, I'm 5 months on HRT. Let me be your savior. Let me be your champion. I know everything already. It's going to take a good while. I've been talking with a lot of people in the community, and I have a lot of role models who I'm very close with who are getting involved with actual like political parties and consulting and things like that. So I'm basically like working towards that. But yeah, I mean, aside from Joanne going crazy on Twitter,
Is that the British version of
people,
Karen?
like the rest of the world, aren't phrasily transphobic. A good majority of people are just getting on with their life, and they say that once a lot of cis people aren't going to meet a single trans person in their life, and once they met one, a lot of their mind is very quickly changed.
Yeah, well, it's like I feel like it's always that first interaction. Like I have a friend back in the town of 37,000 people that I came from, and he's a staunch Trump supporter. Like he posts all these Trump stuff, but he posted this like kind of anti-trans thing. It's like it was something about like in 1942 people lied about their age to join the war. In 2024 people lie about their gender to win at sports. And I was like, dude, ouch. And he sent me this long message like, he's like, look, sorry, that wasn't about you. It was about XYZ. He's like, I support you and everything you do. I think what you're doing is great. And I was just like, what a weird like he has this online persona, which of course is like super anti, but I guess his first interaction with an actual trans person was me, as opposed to what Fox News told him to say.
And then they go, well, you're the exception.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you're not a supporter. Bye. I'm like,
yeah.
You mean to say is I'm human to you, but the rest of the community, because you don't see them, then they're not. They're the big other.
Yeah,
the big other out there.
It's like, yeah, I mean, if I had met him before, like I met him before, when I was still David, and and if I hadn't done that, I guarantee you he would not be so supportive and everything. It's just we were friends before, when I was before politics became a thing. For him.
I think I'm in a position where I'm like learning about it. I was on stage recently, being the token trans on on a panel, and it was like 2 days, and a bill had passed recently about puberty blockers here in the UK. And it not been 2 days since this bill had passed, and I'm sat on a stage, and I'm asked for my input, about this news, and I'm just like, I'm still kind of processing. This one, chief.
There's so much that's happening all at once. It's like an answer of I don't know somehow doesn't satisfy people.
Totally.
You don't hey, I haven't heard of it yet. Sorry, there's so much information going on constantly in the world. You're just trying to keep up.
And live your life and have everything else going, and then they're like, oh, you're not super privy to this thing that's going on in bumfuck Missouri. I'm like, I have no fucking clue. I'm just trying to make sure I can pay my bills. But apparently we're supposed to be this everything to everyone. Like everybody's, when they found out I'm trans on Twitter or on Tinder, if they don't immediately unmatch, they're like, I have all these questions, and let me be your guru. Because of course I have nothing better to do than to educate you.
Also, we Google diet essentially for any trans matters, because they could go online. They could just go to Google if they actually gave a shit, but they don't. And they're like, well, I want to hear it from you, and you're my ultimate fantasy. Oh, really? That's adorable. That is adorable.
I mean,
you should have bigger fantasies, sir.
I mean, y'all are both fantastic. So, whew. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. But being somebody's having to be their like token anything, like you were saying, when it immediately comes to you, and it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm here. I thought this was a software development panel, but apparently it's somehow about like how trans in software. It's like, I don't know.
They always find a way to just bring it back, and you're like, can I just eat my food?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We couldn't help but notice. Like, I was in Dunkin' Donuts with my daughter.
I've made a habit as the past like year or two, when answering questions about things, to, I don't know, I feel like we're conditioned a lot of times to just talk with authority on things. Like, say, like, you go to school, get the answer correct, you know, say it confidently, and, like, you know, to be correct all the time is kind of like the goal. As opposed to just saying, oh, well, I read this somewhere, I heard this somewhere, someone told me this. Not, you know, not saying like, yeah, this is the fact. It's like, oh, well, I read this. I'm not sure if it's like true. I haven't checked the source. You know, and like having that, just that little smidgen sprinkle of like accountability, just to sort of take away like the fire behind it, and being like, yes, well, here's a fact. It's like, okay, well, I don't know if this is true. Or like, I read this, I heard this.
I'd always heard like follow those who seek the truth and deny those who found it. And it's like it was always about like religion, and like anybody who's like, this is the way. It's like those people are you know, dinguses, ignore them. But then the people who are like, well, this is what I believe. It's like, okay, well, maybe it's different than me, but like you follow those people because it's like, at least they're looking, and they're not like telling you an absolute. Anybody who deals in absolutes is,
yeah. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. You know, we're living in a time fueled with debate culture, and social media really doesn't help that. It really exacerbates things, 100%. Especially more so because the demographic keeps getting younger and younger on social media pages, because kids have got fuck all to go to these days. You know, back in my day, we had Neopets, we had Club Penguin, we had kids games and kids websites for kids to go to. We don't have those anymore. Kids don't have like places to go. They go into Sephora, you know. Like I was learning recently about the concept of the third space, and how, you know, we've got things like gentrification going crazy. I won't bore you with the details, but but we have, you know, children are getting less like third places to go to, like parks and children's, like, you know, places to go. So they're on social media, and when it comes to discourse online, you know, children on Twitter are being used and cited as sources in news articles now. Like, do you find that news articles use tweets as their sources now?
Yeah.
People are in uproar about this. It's 3 tweets. It implies there's a bigger conversation. The 3 tweets you saw were the 3 tweets about the particular topic. And most of the time, it will be like children, you know, just piping off.
Alabama, it's like, cool.
You know, and it makes it very difficult to have a lot of discourse on the internet, because, like, for example, in my comment section, you know, I had some. If I'm susceptible to responding to a comment, if I woken up in the morning in a grumpy mood, you know, I often don't humor responding to comments and things. But if I've woken up and the first thing I see is someone mouthing off, I'm like, right, I'll let you have it then. So I was on YouTube, and someone had commented fatherless behavior on my post. So my immediate response, I woke up, and my immediate response was, I was going to put back, my dad would fuck your dad.
And your dad would like it.
But then I clicked on the profile, and I saw that this person was clearly underage. They were like 12 to 14 years old. And I thought, well, that's not really appropriate. That's not an appropriate thing to say. So instead, we'll use this as a teaching moment. This will be a learning moment. I'll talk earnestly. I'll make a fair point, you know, and I'll talk calmly. So I responded back. I said, hi. You know, I have a dad, you know. Dad likes me. I like my dad. That's all fine. Don't need to worry about that. But there are people in the world who don't have their fathers, and I don't think it's really fair to kind of make them the butt of the joke. You know, there are people who don't have their dads.
What a
I
great
was like,
response.
why are they getting the short straw on this one, being the joke? And they came back. They responded back within an hour. L plus ratio. I was cooked. There was nothing I could do. There was nothing I could do.
Hold it.
L plus ratio. Womp womp.
And then after, just be like, all right, I tried to take the high road. Just be like, listen, I have multiple daddies. Get out of it. Like,
this is the, like, you know, like, it's so difficult to actually have genuine discourse and conversation because once you get hit with a womp squared, you're cooked.
Yeah, and it's never like when you're like debate culture. It's not debate. It's just people yelling into the void.
Yeah,
and that's what it feels like. And you're like, nothing's changing.
It's fallacy central, is what it is.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
like
ad homonyms everywhere.
Like,
I prefer, you know, phallics, you know, phallic things, not fallacy things.
I had this dude hit me up, and he was like, he's like, you know, you're a man, right? And first off, I wanted to respond with, well, at least one of us has to be. But but what I did respond with was, I was like, hey, that's not a very nice thing to say. I'm actually a trans woman. And then he comes back and goes, no, you'll always be a man. And I was like, I'm going to take the high road for a little bit longer. And was like I was like, that's not a really sweet thing. That's not a nice thing to say. It doesn't make me feel very good. And on the third time when he came back, he goes, yeah, but you'll always be a dude. I was just like, I went into his profile, found out that he was like a shitty little, like, you know, he wanted to be a boxer, but he's like 5'5" and tiny as little. So like, I was just like, I'm going to just tear into this motherfucker and be like, I'm like, you ever want to get your ass beat by a trans girl? Like the only woman you're ever going to be inside is your mom. And like, just basically, like, I lambasted him for about maybe a good like 5 minutes, and I wrote it all out, and it was amazing. And I was like, I looked at it, I was like, this guy might kill himself. And I was like, you know what, fine. I was like, hey, sorry, have a good day. And I blocked him, and it was like, God, that felt good to write though. Like even just saying it to these people, because like all you do is you question their masculinity, like because they're always like asserting our masculinity. Apparently, you question theirs, and they immediately shut the.
Well, I mean, but pre-transition, it's always, oh, you know, you look weak and like feminine. You'll never, you need to man up and all these types of things. And all of a sudden, as soon as you transition, it's like, oh, you're so manly. And like, oh, really, really? My shoulders are burgeoning through my shirt. And, my jaw, I'm like Glenn Quagmire all of a sudden. I'm like,
I always say I'm like if you ordered She-Hulk on Temu, like, this is what you get.
It's genuinely why. So I took a break from social media before I kind of came out because I genuinely considered not coming back. I genuinely considered just leaving social media to go transition. And to just live, to live life off of it. I didn't need it, to transition. The internet and social media is like my biggest fascination. It's my favorite job. But I didn't know how much I wanted to be in the public eye transitioning, because I knew what that would entail. And I knew how much responsibility that would be, and just be what I would be subjecting myself to. It's 2024. Plenty of other trans people on the internet could kind of gather what comes with the job. And I spent months really deliberating on whether or not I was going to even come back or not. I took a break. I ultimately did decide, sure, I'll come back. And, because I had so many messages from people who'd said such lovely things. I never anticipated being a part of people's journeys and being impactful to anyone's like journeys. I went into social media as a purely selfish endeavor. I wanted attention. Yeah. I'm a whore. Okay, I'm a greedy, needy attention.
What's wrong with that? Everybody who comments hate shit just wants attention on you, like. Yeah. Because we're wasting their time doing it. It's like there is nothing wrong with it.
Means nobody wants to be
I didn't sign up for all this activism malarkey. I didn't sign up to be a representative of a community. You know,
Oh,
I
shit,
just
this
wanted
wasn't in the contract.
pretty.
Wasn't in the contract at all. It's the Willy Wonka contract that just goes on and on. Like, you're like, oh, well, that might be a problem if I could read. Shit. Like,
I never
Such a
learned how
great
to
movie.
read good.
Such
You know?
a great movie.
I know words good.
Um,
Nailed it.
Well, I'm noticing we're like at about like 45 minutes ish, but I did want to like jump into. I had like one quick question that I always like to ask, and I know Bree's gonna want her question asked, so and she's gonna be real pissed off that I just rolled my eyes. But
Give me that tone of voice.
yeah, sorry. But yeah, I mean, real quick, Robin, do you have and what is your transition theme song?
Oh,
Yeah. She has
My
one.
Future by Billie Eilish.
Ooh. Ooh, okay.
Girl. Zex, what was yours again?
That's been
We're
the
not
one
gonna talk
I'd say that kind of encapsulates, you know. That one's been resonating quite a good bit. Yeah, My Future by Billie Eilish.
My Future. Okay. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, and the question that Bree would always ask is, are you familiar with the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge?
Oh yeah, I
Where
remember
like you
that.
pour ice in your and you challenge somebody. So who would you challenge to be on the podcast next? Now that you know how much of a fucking joy it is.
Oh gosh, I gotta think of someone on the spot. Ooh,
Who are you gonna call out?
who am I gonna call out? Hold on, let me just consult with my phone book.
Get a little twink on here. Get
I'm
a little twink on here.
I'm gonna get all these whores. Hold on.
Damn right. Line them up. They're just on your
Lining them
DM.
up, okay?
You just like, oh, there's
gonna get it.
an A.
This is mostly just like it's
Which
just
one
so
of you?
Bree knows who to call out next because she's our little social media representative.
I would say I'm gonna call out PRB.
Yes.
PRB, you're getting on here, babe. You're getting on this show.
Oh, the after hours are gonna be lit.
I
I
love
was
it.
like, oh my god.
I love it.
I'm gonna carry like a saloon. Like,
Call her out. Get her on.
PRB,
Responding kind
you're
to you.
being summoned, darling.
If you walked in and you walked into the bar and looked at me like that, I'd be butter. Goodness. Oh my God.
It's coming. I'm just like, I'm ready.
Good.
I'm ready. I'm ready for sex now. I'm just.
Whew. Just from 6 o'clock to midnight here. So Zex, you want to do final thoughts and then we can jump into after hours?
All right. I was like, we can. I was like, honestly, Robin, what would you like to leave on? Like, what is something that I don't know how many interviews you've done. That's one thing I haven't kept up with. But if anything, if you had to, again, you said early on in the interview, you're like, hey, I'm 5 months in, right? I don't really have too much to speak on. But I was like, for what you can. And I think every person's journey is in and of itself, like you're going to learn, right, as you go. But 5 months in, what is something you want to leave on to new eggs or even elder trans women?
Zach's
What do you
coming
got?
out of left field with a great question.
The biggest thing that that's been so impactful to me has been community. Seeking community, I find it's like a snowball effect. It's difficult at first to kind of find your pocket of community, but once you do, it opens up and it snowballs, and you get to learn so much that, lo and behold, there's not a lot of centralized information about transitioning and being trans. the news the news broadcasts will have you think otherwise, but you'll be pretty hard done by to find, like a pamphlet that teaches you how to be trans. It all comes from word of mouth and association,
nice.
and education and information that's handed over, and we work together, and that's how we get by, and that's how we survive. And that's been so useful to me, finding that community and sharing and having kinship with other trans people. You get to just, it makes you feel less crazy. It makes you feel a lot less lonely and crazy. Education is a privilege, and education is power, and knowing and having a heads up on what's ahead is really useful, not only physically, medically, but mentally. Preparing yourself for the things coming up ahead has been kind of a focus for me, and has really helped me keep control of my own story and my own transition, to make it something fascinating, to make it something exciting that I can share with people. It's a curious thing, it's a beautiful thing, and it's a miracle. I love it. I love my transition. I love being trans, and I love sharing it with people. It's a wonder.
I love it. That's awesome. A great question, great answer. Good. This has been awesome.
Now. Good.
Yeah. Well, we may need to jump into after hours, but Robin, I just wanted to tell you thank you again for coming on, and you are just a joy to be to talk to. What just a fantastic person through and through.
Thank you.
Both of you, I've not laughed this hard in a long freaking time. So you're both just absolutely.
Wait till we get to after hours.
Yeah. Oh God. It's like, why am I cracking up with such a big boner? But yeah, just thank you again for coming on, and I'm just super excited to see this is 5 months in. I cannot wait to see what you do with the rest of it. It's gonna be amazing. And Zex, thank you again for guest hosting. Maybe we'll make it more of a permanent thing.
Okay, I was like, it was last minute, but I was really excited. As soon as Bree was like, "Oh, it's gonna be Robin," I was like, "Bet!" I was like, "Yeah." Okay,
right, that bitch. Right, I got.
Yeah, I was in here I was like, okay, well, I have work at 11. Fuck it. Cool.
Who is that?
Do not care.
Tom Holland, get your picture.
I'm talking about. Yeah, I've been holding in so much excitement. Just don't even worry. I was like, God damn, I've looked up to you, just even early on, because you've been on TikTok for years. So it's just it's one of those things where I was like, I started transitioning in 2020. But your makeup looks were just incredible, to where I wish I could do a shadow eye like you. I was like, hell yes. It's great.
That's awesome. I mean, that's the great thing about this podcast, being able to facilitate these kind of interactions. I love it. Well, anyways, y'all want to jump into after hours?
Yeah. How does after hours work?
So what we're gonna do is
you can find out.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is to all of our listeners and viewers out there, everybody, thank you so much for watching Girl Dad Girls. If you are not a Patreon subscriber, this is where we're going to leave you. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the after hours. If you're not a Patreon subscriber, you should think about doing it, because it's going to be hot. Anyways,
it's gonna be
I want to say again, thank you. Also, Robin, where do people find you on the internet? How do people find, what are your handles? What are your websites? I'd love to have that whole line memorized, because otherwise I would have been like, what?
You're welcome.
You can find me JuicyGirlTv on everything.
I love it. Well, awesome. Well, thank you again so much. So we're about to jump into After Hours, but so for Girl Dad Girls, I am that QT Danny B. We have the sexiest Zexion 1337 Super Lead, and our amazing guest Robin JuicyGirlTv. Everybody go check out her stuff on Instagram, on TikTok, and on apparently X or Twitter, whatever the fuck it is. Who cares? Anyways, Robin, thank you again, and we'll see everybody in the After Hours. Bye. This has been a production of Girl Dad Girls Podcast. Check out new episodes every Thursday. If you are interested in knowing more, please email info@girldadgirls.com or find us on Instagram @girldadgirls. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.